This is Judith Lay welcoming you to Manx Radio and to the podcast of this week's edition of At Your Service.
Manx Radio.
Today is Palm Sunday, the start of a week that the Christian Church calls holy, and it ends with Easter Day, the most significant moment in history for followers of Jesus Christ. This is when we remember that 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, was tortured and then executed by being nailed to a cross and left hanging till he died. His death was brutal, but he was innocent of any crime. He'd been betrayed by one of his followers and convicted on trumped-up charges. Yet, as he was dying, Jesus publicly forgave his killers. Then, 3 days after his dead body had been taken down from the cross and sealed in a tomb, he came back to life, and over the following 6 weeks he appeared to hundreds of people. And 2,000 years later, his followers continue to reflect on the story, a story that begins with palm branches, a donkey, and cheering crowds.
Make way, make way,
Make way, make way.
for the King of Kings.
For the King of Kings.
Make way, make way,
Make way, make way.
for the King of Kings.
For the King of Kings.
Make way for Christ the King. His splendor arise. Fling wide the gates and welcome him into your lives. Make way for the King of Kings. Make way, and let his kingdom in. He comes the broken hearts to heal, the prisoners to free. The deaf shall hear, the lame shall dance, the blind shall see. Make way for the King of Kings. Make way, and let his kingdom in. Make way for the King of Kings. Make way, and let his kingdom.
So begins Palm Sunday, less than a week before Jesus was going to die, although of course no one knew that at the time. After 3 years of teaching and healing, Jesus had built a big following. He rode into Jerusalem on a young donkey and was hailed as the Messiah who'd come to overthrow the Roman occupiers and re-establish a Jewish kingdom. Jerusalem was crowded with Jewish people arriving to celebrate Passover, commemorating their escape from slavery in Egypt nearly 1,500 years earlier, something that Jewish people still do to this day. The following day, Jesus went to the temple, the very heart of the Jewish faith, and found it had been taken over by money changers and merchants, exploiting the poor people. He called them thieves and drove them out. The religious authorities were alarmed and feared how he was stirring up the crowds. So the next day, they challenged Jesus, questioning his authority. He answered by condemning their hypocrisy. By the middle of the week, the Jewish religious leaders and elders were so angry with Jesus and so fearful of his power and popularity with the people that they began plotting to kill him. One of Jesus' disciples, Judas, went to the chief priests and agreed to betray him to them. Jesus and the 12 disciples gathered on the Thursday evening to celebrate the Passover meal. During the evening, Jesus broke bread and shared it and a cup of wine with his disciples and commanded them to continue to do the same in memory of his death.
This is my body broken for you, bringing you wholeness, making you free. Take it and eat it, and when you do it in love for me. This is
During the meal, Judas slipped away to be ready to lead the soldiers to the olive grove where Jesus went to pray after the meal. He knew what lay ahead. He knew he was going to die. He also knew he could run into the desert and never be found. But instead, Jesus chose the way of obedience. Minutes later, Judas arrived with the soldiers and the chief priests, and Jesus was arrested. After a mockery of a trial on baseless charges, Pontius Pilate, who really wanted to release Jesus, weakly bowed to public pressure and handed him over to be tortured and crucified. Jesus was mocked, crowned with thorns, stripped and made to carry his cross to the place of execution.
It was on the Friday that they ended it all. Of course, they didn't do it one by one. They weren't brave enough. All the stones at the one time, or no stones thrown at all. They did it in the crowds. In crowds where you can feel safe and lose yourself, and shout things you would never shout on your own, and do things you would never do if you felt the camera was watching you. It was a crowd in the church that did it, and a crowd in the civil service, and a crowd in the street, and a crowd on the hill that did it. And he said nothing. He took the insults, the bruises, the spit on the face, the thongs on the back, the curses in the ears. He took the sight of his friends turning away, running away. And he said nothing. He let them do their worst until their worst was done, as on Friday they ended it all, and would have finished themselves had he not cried, "Father, forgive them," and begun the revolution.
Lord, where are you now? It's the understandable question we all ask when life deals us, and those we love, the hardest, bitterest blows. This week is called Holy because it's our chance to reflect on something amazing, that God sent his Son, Jesus, into this world, a human being just like you and me, who actually did nothing but good, but who was prepared to suffer hideously and die an appalling death, to sweep away all the sin in our lives and to offer to everyone the way to an everlasting life. And Good Friday, Jesus, hanging on the cross, is saying to each one of us, in the most painful times of your life, I am with you, and death is not the end.
From heaven you came, helpless babe, entered our world, your glory there, not to be served, but to serve, and give your life that we might live. This is our God, the servant King. He calls us now to follow Him, to bring our life as a daily offering of worship to the servant King. There in the garden of tears, my heavy load He chose to bear. His heart with sorrow was torn, Yet not my will, but yours, he said. This is our God, the servant King. He calls us now to follow him, to bring our lives as a daily offering of worship to the servant King. Come see his hands and his feet, the scars that speak of sacrifice, hands that flung stars into space, to cruel ends surrender. This is our God, the servant King. He calls us now to follow him, to bring our life as a daily offering of worship to the servant King.
Easter, Jesus rising from the dead, is a powerful message of hope for each one of us, and we'll be celebrating that on this programme next Sunday morning. Easter is also a call for us to believe, and I'm still inspired by these words from the late John Kenyock.
Last week on the farm, we drilled the barley, the oats and the peas, seeds sown to produce next autumn's harvest. I've been doing that now for more years than I care to remember. And every year, the first sign of bruit, the first green shoot of corn fills me with wonder. I can't explain what happens. And the good thing is, I don't need to know. All I need is the faith to put the seed in the ground and the belief that it will grow. No more do I know how God raised Jesus on that first Easter day. But like the barley and the oats, it calls for faith and belief.
So let us learn how to serve, and in our lives enthrone each other's needs to prefer. For it is Christ we're serving. This is our God, the servant King. He calls us now to follow him, to bring our life as a daily offering of worship to the servant.
And now we're revisiting two recent stories. The first was a conversation I had with Dr. Peter Littman, Director of Music at the Cathedral, about his forthcoming choir trip to Ypres to visit sites associated with the First World War and to sing at the famous Menin Gate. Peter felt sure that it would be a moving experience for the young choristers, who were also going to follow the journey of Private Robert Vick of Peel. The trip was last week, and Dr. Littman sent us some comments from the choristers as they visited the different sites and some music from the Menin Gate. But let's start with a quick reminder of the details of the visit.
Myself and 22 of the choristers, children and adults, are off to Belgium, to Ypres. The focus is two-pronged, really. The first one is to sing at the Menin Gate, which is that wonderful monument in Ypres, and they have a daily ceremony there, a remembrance ceremony, so we shall sing at the end of the day there. But the second is more of a cultural, where we're going to follow the life of Private Robert Vick, who's a soldier from Peel. His name is on our war memorial outside the cathedral, and of course he won't have been much older than a lot of the children that are going. He lived in Tynwald Street in Peel, and we will follow his journey through the trenches and visit his grave at Tynecott Cemetery. And then we move off to visit the other significant graves and the trenches and the museums. And then at the end of the day, we sing at that important ceremony at the gate. So at the Menin Gate, we can only sing very briefly. So we're going to sing "O Come Ye Servants of the Lord" by Christopher Tye, and also the hymn "The Day Thou Gavest, Lord, is Ended," which of course was written by a pupil of King William's College, which is another Manx connection. Also joining us at the gate is Alan Jones from the Peel Royal British Legion, who will bring the standard, and he'll present the standard as we sing while the wreaths are being laid. So it's literally a day travelling, the big day in Ypres, and then a day travelling back. We've been very fortunate. We've had sponsorship from the Brine Trust, from the Admiral Fetteris Trust, and from the Elizabeth Clucas Trust. But the children themselves, each child has paid a £40 deposit because they need to feel ownership of it. They need to feel as though it's the project that they're involved in. A lot of that day, they'll have picked up some quite significant emotions.
I think it was beautiful because a lot of the graves that were personalised included some really lovely scripture, and I recognised it as being part of some of the music that we've sung ourselves, and I really loved seeing how everyone was remembered in their individual way, and even the soldiers that weren't found.
And what have we just sung at Tynecott?
We sang Ellen Bannon.
Okay, Naya, what are your impressions of Tynecott Cemetery?
Well, it was really sad to see the amount of graves that were actually in.
Can you remember how many graves there were?
11,000.
11,000. Jasper, what colour were the graves?
Marble, white.
White.
Beautiful view.
Lucy, first impressions of Tynecott Cemetery?
It was very, very sad, and there were so many soldiers that did their part in the war.
Louis, describe what you've just seen.
Well, I thought seeing the graveyard was very interesting. It really put into perspective how many people were killed, and it was interesting just going and looking at the names of the individual soldiers on the marked graves. Very interesting, but it was also quite sad.
You remember the name of the village we drove through to get to Tynecott?
Passchendaele.
We've seen the Tynecott Cemetery, and now we're going to the battlefields.
So I'm with Tatiana in the German cemetery, where there are 44,000 fallen soldiers, including behind us is a massed grave of 25,000 German soldiers. How are you feeling?
A little sad.
A little sad.
Well, there's loads of tiny little graves, and there's some German text on it. And they're all buried in groups. That's why it's not an individual grave.
Right, and how many are in each group, do you know, or are they different size groups?
I think maybe 4, but probably different sizes, considering it's not going to be an even amount of soldiers.
So, Anya, we're at Vancouver Corner. Can you tell me what you just heard?
We've just learnt about how to neutralise the ammonia. The soldiers would take off their sock and then pee on it and then hold it over their nose and mouth, and this would help to neutralise it. So it just kind of shows in a picture how heroic these soldiers were.
Actually, I don't think I'd want to be weeing on my sock and putting it near my mouth.
No.
And how are you finding the whole experience?
I think it's really good to remember how it was, and I think it's really cool that we're learning about it 100 or so years later, and that we still feel some of the emotions that the soldiers would have went through.
The choristers from the cathedral in Peel singing there at the Menin Gate. And in the cathedral in Peel this afternoon at 3:30, the choir will sing the meditation, The Cross of Christ, and the Litany of the Cross at 2:00 on Good Friday afternoon. The Mass of Thanksgiving for the Resurrection, at which Bishop Trisha will preach and the whole cathedral choir will sing, is at 10:30 on Easter Sunday morning. And last week we were in Christchurch in Laxey to find out about the island's first ever Bubble Church, a Sunday church service especially for babies, toddlers and children up to the age of 7 and their families. It's made up of action songs, an age-appropriate Bible story with puppets to help in the storytelling, and young children are helped into a gentle understanding of prayer. Come 10 or 15 minutes before the service and enjoy drinks, croissants and fresh fruit. Then each family has their own bubble, a circle of carpet, to sit together and share in the 30-minute service that follows. And the first ever Bubble Church is at Christchurch in Laxey on Easter Sunday morning at 9:15 for refreshments, with the service starting promptly at 9:30. It's all free, but you do need to book so that there are enough resources prepared for everyone. You can do this via the website bubblechurch.org or search for Christchurch Laxey on Facebook and send them a private message. And turning now to the rest of our notice board, there are an exceptional number of special services for this coming week, and to try to fit them all in now could risk being confusing, so I'll include as many as reasonably possible now, but there'll be lots more on our 2 notice boards during sundown this evening from 9. So let's start with today. This afternoon, there's a concert by Castletown Metropolitan Silver Band in Castletown Methodist Church starting at 3:00. Light refreshments, free admission and donation to church funds would be welcome. Also today, Meadowside Choral Society will sing John Stainer's Crucifixion at Mount Tabor, Port St Mary Methodist Church. That's this evening at 6:30. Conductor is Julian Power, the organist is Gareth Moore, and soloists are Bill Creer and Jeff Collier. This is the first of 2 performances of this work, which is perfect preparation for the great celebration of Easter. The second performance will be on Good Friday in Arbury Parish Church at the same time, 6:30. Also this evening, the Mariners Choir will be in Glen May Methodist Church for a service at 6:30, at which Mrs Rita Norrie will preach, and as usual there'll be supper afterwards and community hymn singing. Looking at the week ahead, a number of the Lent lunches have finished now, but there will be a final Lent lunch served on Wednesday in the Pastoral Centre next to St Anthony's Roman Catholic Church in Onken between noon and 2 p.m. And there's just one more week of Lent lunches in the Cool Church Hall on Cool Road in Braddon. That's this Thursday, the 17th, serving between noon and 2 p.m. A Walk Through Holy Week is a series of prayer stations in Port St Mary Methodist Church, a chance to make a spiritual journey through the events leading up to Christ's crucifixion through interactive prayer stations. A Walk Through Holy Week is open each afternoon this week from Tuesday the 15th to Good Friday the 18th from 2 p.m. till 4 p.m, with refreshments available in the church hall. That's in Port St Mary Methodist Church. On Wednesday the 16th, Londu Male Voice Choir will be in concert in Bigarrow Methodist Chapel, and that starts on Wednesday evening at 7:30. Pilgrims on the journey through Holy Week are invited to Dorby schoolrooms for a bring and share supper from 6 until 7 p.m. around the fire in Dorby schoolrooms on Maundy Thursday evening. And that'll be followed by a Gethsemane vigil from 7 p.m. until 10. Everyone's welcome to share this vigil, which will be silent, apart from a single voice sharing the story. This is to replicate Jesus' invitation to his disciples to come and keep watch with him in the Garden of Gethsemane. There are lots of special services on Good Friday, including a joint Methodist Salvation Army family-friendly service at Promenade Methodist Church here in Douglas at 10:30 on Good Friday morning, with music from the Salvation Army Band and songsters. Also at 10:30 on Good Friday morning, there's a joint Methodist United Reformed Church service at Trinity Methodist Church at Rosemount here in Douglas, with music led by Gareth Moore and the Trinity Church Choir. Again at 10:30 on Good Friday morning, Reverend Joanna Smart will lead a reflective Good Friday service in Peel Methodist Church. And at 11 o'clock on Good Friday morning, there's a service at Port Erin Methodist Church, followed by an ecumenical walk of witness to the Tesco car park for a short service around 12 noon. At 3 o'clock on Good Friday afternoon, Reverend Brian Yardy will lead a time of reflection in St Paul's Church Lounge. And also at 3 o'clock, there's a Good Friday service in Sandy Gate Chapel, led by Reverend Rod Ingruel. And then on Good Friday night, there's quiet downtime in Laxey Methodist Church on Minorca Hill. You're welcome to walk in when you wish and leave when you must, any time between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. There'll be music and refreshments. On Saturday the 19th at 7 p.m, there'll be meditations and Taizé music for Holy Saturday at Port Erin Methodist Church. Sunrise services at dawn are a wonderful way to celebrate Easter Day, and I'd hoped to bring you details of all the ones that I know about, but I've been beaten by the clock again. So I'll have all that information, plus much more, on the notice boards on sundown tonight from 9. I'll also have the door to the virtual lounge wide open and ready to welcome you in for a mix of all kinds of music, plus your requests and dedications. And I'd love you to join me if you can. And so, until whenever we meet again, this is Judith saying thank you for listening, and I wish you and those you love a truly blessed and holy week. And a very good morning.